Bridges are stronger when built from both sides.
Let's connect.
Let's connect. In the middle.
Hello and welcome to Building Bridges, a show on the Greensboro Television Network that highlights ways members of the public and members of the police department can connect with each other. I'm your host, Sandra Hughes. Each month on this show, we will feature officers and people just like you at home who have worked together to learn more about each other and to make our city safer. Today, we'll introduce you to the Community Resource Officer, or we call her CRO. This officer is your direct connection to GPD. The CRO is one of your best partners in reducing crime and in solving problems that affect your neighborhood. We'll meet two community resource officers today and two residents who have worked with them to make our city safer. Joining me in our little living room now is Officer Deanna Taylor and Bev Andrews from the old Starmount community. She's the watch coordinator there. Thanks for joining us, ladies, very much. Now, Officer Taylor, let me start by having you describe what the Community Resource Officer does.
The Community Resource Officer is really kind of like a jack of all trades. We are that person that the community can contact about anything. Not, you know, sometimes people have problems and they think, this may be a police problem, it may not be a police problem, or it may not be a problem at all. And so we're that resource where we can kind of direct them in wherever they need to go to some city services or do what we can do to help them with their problem.
So do they call the police department if they have that situation, or do they call you directly?
They can call the police department and ask for a CRO, or they can call me directly if they don't have our number. We have a website where they can get all of our information, our number, our email address. And they can also find out if they're wondering, hey, do I have a community resource officer? It may not be me because I only work in one area of the city, but if you go to our webpage, you can see a picture, get a little bio of the officer and all of their contact information.
So are you always there in that section of the city, or do you have duties in other places?
I am always there in what we call District 4, which is where I work. I'm always pretty much there. Every now and then, we will all come together, all the CROs, to do some projects. But for the most part, we're in our area.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. I need to find out who's in my area.
Well, you can go to our website and find out.
I sure will. Now, Bev, tell me, you have worked in the old Starmount community.
That's correct.
How have you worked with the CRO?
We actually have a different CRO, and we are in contact anytime I have any questions. He's very good about getting me answers right away. If we've had a report about some suspicious activity, if it was called into the police, he will get me the information because residents see what's going on. Our neighborhood is very watchful, very aware, and generally they do report activity. If not to the police, they report it to us. And
when you say us,
my husband and I are the coordinators of the community watch. So we will get an email or a phone call saying, hey, the police are up the street, what's going on? So, and then I just email Ben, find out, hey, what's going on over there? And he's always very prompt in getting me answers. So we use the CRO quite a bit.
Give me an example of, I remember in my community there was a gentleman who was walking, and I guess no one in the community recognized him as a resident, and they called the police, wanted to know, is that something that you would call about?
We say anything that is suspicious, if you feel uneasy about, call the police. It might be something totally innocent. If it is, then the police don't care.
This turned out to be innocent, yeah.
Yeah, and they would rather be called for something that's innocent than have to be called to investigate something that happened later. So I think people are very good about using judgment, and if we have a lot of walkers in our neighborhood. And if it's somebody just walking, chances are nobody's suspicious. If it's somebody walking through a backyard, that's suspicious activity. Or if it's somebody walking up and looking in cars, that's suspicious activity.
Gosh, this keeps you busy, doesn't it?
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
Good grief, yeah. My son, who doesn't live with us all the time, was walking through our backyard, came up around towards the front of the house, and folks just had a fit. You know, thinking, who is this that's been in the back of their house? So do you get that kind of report or something that's just nothing?
We do, and that's actually good that you have people that are saying, hey, look, this is somebody that I don't recognize. Let me call the police, and we will come out. The thing about it is, like Bev was saying, and that was very good, Bev. I mean, we come out, we would much rather come out and it be your son than to have to come out afterwards when you called us and it perhaps wasn't your son, it was somebody looking to break into your home. So that's what we try to encourage people to call if you see something suspicious, because a lot of times people just say, oh, that's just something small. It's somebody, you know, it feels kind of odd to me, but it's just something small. I'm not going to call the police. Well, that's what we're here for.
But aren't some people just afraid to call the police?
And some people are afraid to call the police. And I will tell you, when you call us, you don't have to give your name. You don't have to give your address. You don't have to give your telephone number. You can call and say, I live at 123 Brown Street. And at 124 Brown Street, I see something suspicious going on. There's somebody over there. And can you send the police out? You haven't given your name. You haven't given anything about you. And we're still going to respond. So I just try to encourage people to call. You don't have to give that information, but if you see something going on, please call.
That's best. Have you had any incidents in your neighborhood since you've been the neighborhood police person that really was something huge?
Well, we had one a couple months ago where they actually gained access into a sunroom through a window, and the homeowner heard the commotion, and so they go to the back door, and it scares the people off.
Oh, that's lucky.
So yes, we do. I mean, we caution people that if somebody comes to the front door, rings the doorbell, don't open it, but let them know that you're home, because if they think no one's home, a lot of times they'll go around to the back and make entry.
Oh, I see, I see.
And we actually had a case like that several years ago where the lady was upstairs, did not go to the door. The fella came in through the back. She comes down the stairs, and guess what? He's there.
Oops, oops. Well, I have two granddaughters, young children, and what we tell them, and you please tell me if we're doing the right thing, that if they hear somebody come through the door that they know is not mom or dad, they have helped them find hiding places to go if they can't get to a telephone. Is that the right thing to do?
That is a good thing to do, is to have a hiding place and to have a place where the parents will know where they are. And also, if they can work out where they've got some type of cell phone or some type of something in that hiding place so that they can either call mom or dad or they can call the police while they're in that hiding place, that's a very good idea, especially if they're small and they're in the home while mom and dad may have run to the store or something like that. Very good idea.
The other thing, too, Bev, is dogs. I know a family with two little dogs. They're little dogs. And I mean, all you've got to do is walk past their door.
The
and
barking
those
will do
dogs
it every
are
time.
Carrying on like nobody's business.
And our neighborhood is full of them. Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing. I mean, although I find it kind of annoying that every time you
it's a
walk
good
by
thing.
that door, they carry on.
Yeah. Our neighbor's dog barks even when we go in the back door, and I say, good job, Lucky.
Oh.
You know, you're doing your job.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. I'll change my attitude about that then.
Exactly. Dogs are very good, especially if you know that your dog is barking, because usually somebody's walking by or somebody's near the door or whatever. Then you know when you hear the dog barking, if nobody's supposed to be near your door, then you know something might be wrong.
Now, we've talked about hiding places and dogs. What else can people do to protect themselves?
Well, the first thing is to make sure that all of your doors and the locks on your doors work properly, the locks on your windows work properly, and use them. Please lock your doors, lock your windows. If you have an alarm, please get in the habit of setting that alarm. And just making sure that those things are working properly a lot of times is what's needed. Make sure that if you have any shrubbery that needs to be cut down so that you can see, so that they're not good hiding places around your home, and good lighting. Good lighting is just wonderful. You know, my mom always says, you know, light will run the devil out. So
It
she
will.
always says that. So, you know, and I always equate that to, you know, bad people don't like the light. So just make sure,
they
just
don't wanna be
having lights
seen.
on.
They
Yeah,
sure
they
wanna
don't
be
want to be
seen.
seen. So.
Well,
Now-
we also stress that if everybody will keep their property secured, utility buildings, homes, cars, car larcenies are rampant in Greensboro. And there are people that go through neighborhoods at night just checking car doors.
Wow.
And we had one just recently. And but word will get out on the street, oh, that's a waste of time to go over there because everything's already
It's
locked
locked
up.
up.
Yeah.
So are you doing what we call community watch?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so the CRO works with the community watch group?
That's
Is that how that
correct.
works?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you train them or anything?
No, really, the community watch, it really belongs to the community. We're there to assist them in any way possible. We don't run it. We go to their meetings when they invite us to come to their meetings. And like Bev was saying, we give information about what's gone on maybe the last week, the last month. It just depends on what the community wants. We also give them information like crime mapping. Crime mapping. And crime mapping, it's crimemapping.com. It's a website where anybody can go and put in their address and find out what's going on in their community, crime-wise, a mile, half a mile, or I think it's 0.2 miles. And it's a good tool. You can also set alerts that it will send to your cell phone or your email, letting you know if somebody broke into a car down the street.
We get a daily email from them.
Oh, do you really? I'd never heard of crime mapping
Yeah,
before.
Crime mapping.
Crimemapping.com.
So do you meet with your neighbors in what's called a community watch meeting?
We do at least once a year, and we've got one coming up the end of March, and Officer Wingfield's going to come and talk about securing your home. Then our National Night Out is really considered another meeting because we all get together and it's a chance to reconnect with everybody. And we just feel like building relationships within the community. You become friends rather than just acquaintances, and you're going to take care of your friends.
That's true. That's true. Is there any one thing, Officer Taylor, that people don't do that they should be doing? One thing in particular that they don't do enough of? I know locking the cars is one.
Definitely locking the cars. Like I said, just making sure that your doors, that they're locked, that the locks on your doors work properly, the locks on your windows work properly, and just in general looking out for each other, looking out for your neighbor, because essentially that's who's looking out for your home and your property when you're not there. So just programs like Community Watch. I know Bev said that they meet like once a year or twice a year. We have some, I have several in my area that meet monthly.
Oh, my.
And just talk about what's going on in the community, good and bad. They talk about good stuff too, and I'm sure you guys do as well. Talk about what's going on, and we like to get involved in the good stuff too. So we like to hear when they're having, of course, National Night Out, or when
Right.
they're having some type of thing at a church or a home that we can participate in and just help to make that bridge just a little bit stronger that we're building.
We actually have a very extensive email system. So that kind of replaces some of the meetings, neighborhood meetings. We also have a Facebook page. And we have a lot of relatives of elderly people that don't use computer. And they join the Facebook page so they can let their relative know what's going on.
That's a great
We do a
idea.
monthly newsletter that will have information from the police, it'll have safety tips, we're doing crime and opportunity this next month. And then it'll have our block parties and things like that that we're going through. So I think maybe that's why we don't have to have meetings that frequently, because we do have
There's
a
so many other things.
very good system.
It sounds to me, Officer Taylor, like she needs to be a police officer.
Yeah, we do need more community.
In all my spare
Communicate.
time.
It doesn't sound like you have spare time with all the community watch things that you're doing.
Probably 20 to 30 hours a week I spend.
That's a job.
That
That's
is.
a job. But it's a good
That's a
one.
full-time job.
It's well, I'm retired.
Yeah.
Keeps me off the street, out of trouble.
Well, then that's good too.
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah, that's
good too. Well, I want to thank you both very much for joining us today. And in case some of our viewers don't have a CRO or community watch, they should listen to what you're saying today and come up with one. So thank you for helping us better understand the Community Watch program. You have lots of good things happening in the old Star Mount community, and your community serves as an inspiration to us all. Now we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll meet another citizen who has worked closely with one of the GPD's community resource officers. This partnership just might surprise you. Welcome back to Building Bridges. And seated across from me now is Officer Doug Campbell, who is also a community resource officer, and next to him is Reverend Linwood Carver from Genesis Baptist Church. And Reverend Carter, now I understand that you reached out to the police department because of some problems in your area. Is that right?
Actually, one of our partners reached out. We had a shooting in the neighborhood, and we have a major investment in the area, in the neighborhood, and we wanted to protect our investment in the neighborhood, so we wanted to create a partnership of how we can solve the crime within the neighborhood.
And is that how you got involved with them?
That's right. We wanted to set up a series of meetings with the Bessemer community to just find out what kind of problems there are. We talked about crime. We talked about what the youth could do to keep themselves constructively occupied. We talked about any kind of housing concerns in the area, and it was really nice to have the church as a facility because they hosted us in the fellowship hall for a kind of start out meeting and for the wrap up meeting that just happened recently.
So it sounds like this has turned out to be a good partnership. Is that right?
It has.
Yeah.
The great thing about it, we're developing a relationship where we get to know each other, and we don't see each other as institutions, but we see each other as human. And now we can interact with each other and how we can serve each other and help each other and for each other's best interests.
Well, that's what this show is all about, building bridges. Because, you know, I'm from the old school.
Yes.
And for a long time, people were afraid to call the police. You know, even if something bad had happened, they were afraid, you know, we see a uniform, we go, oh. So, but obviously you're changing that.
I'm trying to, and I think the church is helping us change it too, because I've been over to Genesis a bunch of times already, and one of the first times was for Career Day. They had summer camp and they had Career Day, and they had a bunch of people come by, you know, with firefighter, EMS, you know, lots of folks, and including police. So it was just a good chance. Some of those kids are actually want to grow up and become police officers, but for the rest of them, it's just nice to have a short, positive interaction and let us know, you know, we're not scary folks, we're not going to bite them or anything, but they should be coming to us for help and feel comfortable with that.
But that's changing with time, right?
Right.
Because it wasn't like that when I was little. I mean, if you saw a police car coming, oh, someone's in trouble. And that's not the case anymore. And obviously that's what you're teaching your people.
We're trying to, as I said, trying to make sure we see the policemen not as the institution of policemen, but they're people, and they are concerned about the interests of the community, and also the police can see get to know the residents of the community, where they can see them as humans and as people that have some of the same interests. I think when Doug goes home, he's concerned about his family, he's concerned about his household, he's concerned about the protecting his family. And in our neighborhoods, in our community, in our context, the same is there, that we're concerned about having a job, food to eat, and a safe neighborhood. So when we see our common interests, we can discuss the common interests and work together to better our neighborhoods and better our communities.
So obviously you see that, but how do you convince your neighbors to feel the same way?
And that's by bringing them out to meet the police and meet them as on a human level. So if we can bring the community together with the police together, where they get to know Doug's name and he gets to know their name. So when he does drive up in the car, he's not seeing it going, that they say, oh, there's Doug. And they feel more comfortable with it. And it's going to take time. And it's going to take energy on both parts. It's going to take energy for the church to bring about, to facilitate that mutual bridge building.
Bridge building.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Ken, would you, when you look into the future, Doug, see us getting a lot better at that, or are you at a pretty good place right now?
I certainly hope so, because sort of law enforcement, when I first became an officer, I said, I'm it. I go out and that's what I do. I'm law enforcement. But officers are kind of a small part of law enforcement. We're the tip of the spear. We rely on people to, watch out for their neighbors, have sound crime prevention practices, to report us when they're a victim of something, to report it, to serve as witnesses, to come to court and serve as jurors. So, and we just can't, especially the observation function, because we can't be everybody at once, everywhere at once. There's 275,000 residents of Greensboro. There's about 800 police. So it's nice to have all these eyes watching out for us. So, when they see something, they can tell us where to go. And if they see something and they say, in theory, I should call 911. I really should say something, but I really don't want to deal with police. So we have to set up that good relationship in advance, so you're ready. So you say, hey, I've talked to the police before. They're easy to get along with. They're here to help me out. So now that I see something, right?
Yeah.
So now that you see something happening right in front of you, you're ready. You say, hey, I want to call, and we're going to work this out.
And Sandra, I would love to get to the point, and I think we're getting there, that I won't call the police. I'll call Doug.
I see.
I'll call a person that I trust, that's there to help protect me. And I think when we can get to that level, and I'm not calling the institution,
Right.
but I'm calling somebody I know who happens to be a part of the institution.
A person just like you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's one of the first steps you have to take, Doug, to get people to trust you, even when you're in uniform and carrying a gun and all those things around your belt there?
Well, it's a bunch of things. I mean, I think the good relationship is built incrementally. One thing you can do is wave. We're driving around, we look around. You see people walking around. You can throw up a hand. You can speak to people. When you have, you can visit churches. When you drive by, church is a good place to speak to people. You can go to speaking engagements, and I just did a seminar on senior safety at a church. So it's good for us to take advantage of those speaking opportunities so we can have that positive relationship.
So they do know Doug instead of officer.
Right.
Doug. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Are you having a easy time? Maybe that's not the right question. Getting people to understand what you're trying to do in your community.
No, I don't think so. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. But we recently had a groundbreaking, and the officers were there, and members of the community was there, and we were able to. They saw the holistic approach to what they were trying to do. So one by one is all we're trying to do, is reach that one by one, bring those relationships. I believe that one person can help bring about change into the community.
Oh, of course.
Yes, and so if we can get one by one to get to know Doug, because I know Doug. Doug's a great guy. And get to know them and know the individuals that go home when they take the uniform off, that we can help change it. It's not going to be easy. And my pastor, Dr. Gregory Hedden, realized that it's not going to be easy, but it's something we have to be consistent in, to keep doing it one by one, making that change.
And you need to do it, right?
We need to do it.
How many, are there lots of areas in Greensboro that do not have a community watch and a CRO?
All neighborhoods have an assigned CRO. The city's divided into 4 police districts. They're all divided into 3 zones, and each zone is assigned a CRO. So, you know, any address in Greensboro, you do have a CRO assigned to you. But everybody is not necessarily organized into community watches.
How important is that?
It's very helpful. If you are, you know, familiar with your neighborhood and your neighbors, it gives you an opportunity to kind of take ownership. I've talked to some people and they say, look, I want to drive to work, I want to drive home. You know, they're not speaking to anybody. They're just going to come in and watch TV. So what happens, you know, when the drug dealers move in, when the burglars move in, when there's all these people hanging around in the park down the street? You know, if you're just driving by them and not doing anything about them, that's not helping me. And it's not helping the community. So it's good to sort of say, this is my neighborhood, you know, I'm going to look after it, and you know, I'm going to communicate with my neighbors, I'm going to communicate with the police. There's also other parts of city government like zoning and housing. You know, I'm going to reach out so I can help them coordinate with me to keep the neighborhood nice.
You said each zone has a CRO. How do we find out who our CRO is?
It's on the website. You can say, you know, this is my address, and you can type it in to the website, and it'll say, you know, you're in this district, and this is your CRO.
And it's okay to call that person and say, hello.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm such and such a one. I wanted to say hello to you.
And you also talked about, does every neighborhood have a community watch? And it's nice if I say, hey, you know, if there is a community watch, I can say, hey, there is a community watch in your neighborhood. It meets here on this time. You know, I'll be seeing you there for the next meeting. And if there isn't one, I can say, by the way, would you be interested in having a community watch? Or we have National Night Out. If you just want to kind of start out slow, you can say, you know, I'll just have a little cookout or some ice cream for the next National Night Out. We'll get a few neighbors together, and maybe some more will come of it.
Now, what's the National Night Out like? What is it? A march? What do you do there?
It's the first Tuesday in August, and it's the nation's National Night Out Against Crime to communicate to, you know, any bad guys that the neighborhood is going to work together to fight crime. And so you get the neighbors out, and you have an event in a park or in somebody's backyard. And some people are really elaborate. They have a whole carry-in supper. Some things are kind of, you know, not so much, you know, maybe some potato chips or some ice cream. But the important part is to you know, get to know people. You can have police, fire, EMS come by. A lot of times the city government will come by and chat with folks, other city departments, so it's a good relationship builder.
It sounds great. Have you done that already in your community?
We have done it for the last 17 years.
Good grief.
Since the church is 18 years, actually going on 19 years old, we have done it for the last 18 years, as a matter of fact. So yes, the church is, we believe that we are an integral part into our community. We have actually voted, the church has voted to stay in that community and not go anywhere. Okay. So we are invested in staying into that community, not only by monetarily, but also by emotionally.
So what do you have? I'm trying to find out where the food is.
We have hot dogs, we have hamburgers, and we have French fries, not French fries, but potato chips. We have activities for the youth, bouncy, things. They have, I'm not young anymore, I don't remember what they're called, but those surfy things that the kids will
Snow
enjoy.
cones?
Snow cones, that's right. It's been a long
I
time.
remember that. Snow cones.
But so we try to get the children out, activities for the children, as well as they can meet the police officers, they can meet EMS, they can meet fire engine. And also we see that as an incentive for our youth to want to be something and grow up to be a viable part of the community.
Exactly. If you could make a big wish, officer, what would about community watch, CRO, what would that big wish be as we move towards the future?
I wish it would keep growing and more people would get involved with it and talk with their neighbors, feel comfortable calling us, feel comfortable calling other city departments, just to take pride in their neighborhoods and keep their neighborhoods beautiful.
I think it's a great idea. You want to write that down so we can pass it out? But I want to thank you very much, Reverend.
If I can add just this.
Sure.
I mentioned about the investment in the neighborhood. We are building a 12-unit affordable housing apartment building there in the neighborhood, showing that we care about the neighborhood and we want to provide housing for people to move into the neighborhood. We realize that East Greensboro is a gateway to the city, and so the opportunity to showcase East Greensboro as a change of what can happen between community, government, and business working together. I think we have a groundbreaking opportunity here.
It sounds like he's developing more work for you. You're going to have 2 Dougs instead of 1.
He can handle it. He can handle it.
Goodness gracious. Well, you both have been delightful to talk
thank
to,
you.
and I love hearing what you're doing in your community and how you're helping get it done, and hopefully all of our viewers will continue to go live on what you've done and spread out in their communities to do the same thing.
And if I can add, you've always been an inspiration since I've moved to Greensboro.
Well, bless your heart. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Well, today we learned how residents and CROs work together and they can make an incredible difference in their communities. Partnerships can be powerful, and that's so important because we know that strange neighborhoods or strong neighborhoods rather are safer neighborhoods. If you'd like to find out who your community resource officer is, just go to www.gsopd.org and click on the Our Communities link. Then reach out to your CRO, call him, her, whichever. Start forming that relationship and work together to make your neighborhood better. In our next Building Bridges show, we'll show you some ways you can connect with GPD through your computer or on your phone. Until next time, I'm Sandra Hughes. Be safe out there.
This show was funded in part by the Greensboro Police Foundation, an independent nonprofit organization whose mission is to enhance Greensboro's economic strength by promoting the safest city possible for its residents, workers, and visitors through support of the Greensboro Police Department. For more information about the Greensboro Police Foundation, visit www.greensboropolicefoundation.org.